Hello, this is Vlad and a new story from my channel, Amazing Stories. The snowfall continued for the second day in a row. Road maintenance equipment was struggling to clear the roads of drifting snow to avoid congestion. Alina drove slowly to work in her car, getting stuck in traffic jams every now and then. Finally, the sign for her restaurant appeared to the right of the traffic light, and she turned to park in the backyard. The area near the service entrance was already trampled. Apparently, the manager had arrived early to organize the clearing of the porch and steps. Alina walked around the building and out to the front door. There, indeed, was a bustle of activity. The manager was quickly waving a wide, flat broom, and a security guard was scooping up snow with a shovel and carrying it away. "Good morning," Alina greeted cheerfully. "So, has winter added to the workload?" "Don't even think about it, Alina Albertovna. It's raining and raining non-stop. It melts during the day, and then starts all over again at night, and the forecast says it's going to last a long time. Yeah, the weather isn't promising a rush of guests. We need to properly heat the steps so they don't get any ice left on them," Alina said, entering the restaurant. "I'll turn it on myself." She'd long ago ordered a heating cable installed on the stairs. She'd first seen this method of cleaning porches and even sidewalks in Iceland, where she'd vacationed a couple of years ago. True, they use natural hot springs there for heating, but at home, a heating cable does the job just fine. Soon, the area in front of the restaurant and the stairs leading to it were completely cleared. "Oh, Liuba, it's an expensive place to see," the manager clapped his hands and also headed inside. The security guard cleared a path from the stairs to the parking lot and was also about to leave, when suddenly his attention was caught by a small figure in an old child's fur coat and a gray knitted hat. She was standing by an ornamental bush, covered for the winter with a special polyethylene material, and stamping her feet in boyish boots. The girl looked about 8 years old. She was thin, pale, and from her eyes it was clear that she was very cold and hungry. "Come here," the security guard called to her. The little girl looked at the man in surprise. "Come, come," he shouted. And the girl hesitantly approached the stairs. "Here, until the restaurant opens, stay here and warm up." The little girl, shaking the snow off her boots, stepped on the clean bottom step and turned around in surprise. "Is it warm?" "Well, yes, that's why I called you. Warm up here, and when the restaurant opens, go away, otherwise the administrator will see you and I'll get in trouble for you." "Oh, well then, no need. I'd better go back under the tree. Listen to what the elders say," the security guard ordered good-naturedly and, gathering his tools, headed for the backyard. The girl stamped her feet on the warm stairs, looked around and took out a plastic mug with a 5-ruble note at the bottom. The snowfall suddenly stopped, and the little girl began to sing the song, "Letter to Mother," in the elements of Senina. Passers-by stopped in surprise and looked at her. Many shook their heads. "Who is this? Is he torturing the poor kid like that? I bet his parents are alcoholics and they're making him sing for money." The others silently pulled bills out of their pockets and put them in the mug. And the girl nodded gratefully in response. Alina, realizing that the snow had stopped, turned off the stairwell heating, then opened the door to the street and breathed a sigh of relief. Quote, "Well, it finally stopped. What did you say?" asked the little girl, still standing on the bottom step. Seeing her, Elena was surprised, but, having taken a closer look, decided to come closer. "Who do we have here?" "Oh, excuse me, my name is Katya. I warmed up a little here," I'll be leaving now. The girl awkwardly walked down the stairs, but stumbled, fell and dropped her mug. Alina rushed to her. Lord, how could it have been so awkward? Did you hurt yourself? No, Katya sniffled. I have a fur coat. Elena helped her to her feet and only then noticed the mug with money. What, were you begging for alms? The woman asked almost in a whisper. The little girl's chin trembled, and Alina realized that Katya was about to burst into tears. So, come with me. Don't be afraid, I'm the boss here. No one will hurt you. In a warm room, the girl immediately she flushed. Her eyes grew sleepy. Okay, let's not relax, Alina said, taking off her fur coat. Now you'll eat, then you can sleep in my office if you want. Well, let's go, quote. She led the girl to the wash basin, helped her wash her hands and sat her down at the nearest table. A minute later, a plate with mashed potatoes and a large meatball in creamy sauce appeared on the table in front of the little guest. She began to eat, and Alina watched the girl from under her tig, barely holding back tears. She had never seen children eat like that before, carefully cutting meat with their little legs, scooping it up with an elegant fork and sending small pieces into their mouths. From diligence or from excitement, Katya even sweated a little, and her fair hair became damp around her forehead. Finally, having washed down her lunch with a glass of juice, she said, "Thank you very much. It was so delicious, even tastier than Mom's." Quote. Alina couldn't help but smile at these words. Really? And what about your mom, a cook? Yes, she worked in a kindergarten. Only then she got sick and was taken to the hospital. She's in the hospital. Not in the hospital anymore, but in the cemetery, Katya said sadly. And Alina's eyes began to fill with tears. Only everyone has wreaths or bouquets on their graves, and she didn't even have a flower. Aunt Karina said that was unnecessary. The restaurant owner began to suspect a little, but decided to clarify anyway. So you're begging to pick a bouquet for Mom? Well, yeah, but I don't beg, I sing, I earn money. Yeah, you can't argue with that, Alina agreed. And where do you live? At home. True, now Aunt Karina, Mom's sister, has come to us in Mom's place, with her husband and sons. It had become so crowded. Alina involuntarily looked at the girl's clothes and quietly asked, So, are you the one wearing your brother's clothes? Well, yes, the little girl nodded and pulled her booted feet under the chair. Alina didn't know what to say to her. It became clear that her aunt, taking advantage of her difficult situation, had moved her entire family into her niece's apartment and now, apparently, was oppressing the little orphan. So Aunt Karina says that flowers on the grave are unnecessary, was all she asked. Well, yes. And she also said, if it weren't for me, my mother would have worked not as a cook, but as a translator. And what does this have to do with you? Well, when I was born, my mother could no longer study to be a translator, so she got a job in a kindergarten so that we wouldn't go hungry. I understand. Alina shook her head, thinking about how many such single mothers had to say goodbye to their dreams. But then they had children, and Alina thought that she would give a lot just to become a mother. But she, a successful businesswoman, did not have children and, it seemed, never would. In her youth, she had an abortion. Then complications arose, and Alina was unable to conceive. Since then, she tried to stay away from men, did not trust them, and thought that no one needed. Such a dummy. Only restaurants replaced her, and family, and all the joys of life. Quote. So, will you nap in my room? She suggested to the girl. No, what are you saying? It's awkward, Katya began to get ready. I didn't leave the house during the holidays to sleep. I need to earn money so I can buy my mom the most beautiful bouquet by spring. Okay, Katyusha, go. But let's agree on this. In the spring, I'll also buy your mom flowers, and we'll go see her together. Really? Such a bright smile appeared on the girl's face that Alina couldn't help but smile herself. Of course, it's true. Katya buttoned up her coat and headed for the exit. But as she took a step outside, she suddenly turned around and asked, Auntie, do you come here every day? Of course, Katyusha, I'm the hostess, so I try to be the first one here. The girl shook her head. Just not tomorrow. What? Alina didn't understand. Quote, just tomorrow, don't be the first one here. Katya raised her index finger. Better stay somewhere until it all blows over. What are you talking about? What will blow over? Alina asked, suppressing her excitement. Quote, well, I don't know for sure yet. It's just that I often dream about things that happen later, and that something will happen tomorrow, but I don't know what yet. The little girl darted out the door, leaving Alina perplexed. What a warning, something will happen tomorrow. Well, to whom? To her, to Celia, or to Katya, or to the restaurant. Soon, current concerns distracted her from her thoughts. And she remembered the girl's prediction only at home, already going to bed. Quote, well, now I won't be able to sleep, the woman said, upset. All I can think about is what could happen, a fire or a burst pipe from this cold. And why shouldn't I be there at a time like this? Quote, after tossing and turning in bed, she finally fell asleep, deciding that she would still go to work early. But she wouldn't go in, but would wait at a distance. The next morning was snowy again. It seemed that the snowflakes were competing with the people trying to clear the roads and sidewalks. They kept flying and flying, as if a fairy tale lady blizzard had decided to shake out her downy feather bed onto the ground. Visibility on the roads became minimal due to such a snowfall, and Alina did not drive into the backyard, where the asphalt had not yet been cleared, but parked the car in the restaurant parking lot. She looked around the hotel building that occupied the upper floors and felt a chill. A huge block of snow and ice hung directly above the porch, ready to break off and fall at any moment. While the woman was wondering who to inform of the danger, a small figure in a fur coat climbed through the snow shroud onto the restaurant porch. Alina, she looked closer and gasped. It was Katya. Alina rushed there, and then a terrible sound was heard from somewhere above. Alina froze in horror, not noticing another figure darting past her toward the entrance. When the block of ice crashed onto the porch with a roar, showering Alina with small pieces of ice and snow, she almost lost consciousness. The loud noise set off alarms in several cars parked in the neighboring yard. And as soon as the snow fog cleared, she saw a security guard standing on the threshold, shielding a child with his body. Alina rushed to him. Vadim. Seeing blood oozing from his head, Alina gasped and grabbed the phone. Soon, we have an injury. Ice collapse from the roof, she said quickly. And, seeing traces of blood visible on the girl's face, she added, and a child, 8 years old, was also injured. Please, hurry, quote. Having given the address, Alina tried to move the guard and free the little girl, but it proved difficult. The young man was strongly built. With great difficulty, she still managed to roll Vadim aside and lift Katya. A gaping wound from a shard of a large icicle gaped above the girl's eyebrow. Several more small pieces of ice were embedded in her cheeks. But her head, fortunately, was intact, most likely thanks to the guard. Alina began wiping the streams of blood from the girl's face. And at that moment, Vadim came to. "Forgive me, Alina Albertovna, it's my fault," he groaned hoarsely. "I was the one who let her warm up on the steps. Here she is again. Vadik, it's not your fault." Quote, "It's just some terrible coincidence," Allah stopped him. "Don't waste your energy for now, don't talk. The paramedics will be here soon. Katya, can you hear me?" Quote, she said, shaking the little girl who couldn't stand on her feet. "What am I supposed to do with you?" The woman was almost crying. Finally, they loaded everyone into the ambulance. "Can you tell me the names and places of residence of the injured?" the doctor asked Alina as she sat down next to Katya. "Yes, Vadim, I can. I'm his boss. But Katya, I don't know much about her, just her first name. Maybe when she wakes up, I'll question her." "Okay, let's go, we'll see," the doctor agreed. "At least there will be an adult nearby." Their rooms in the trauma department were adjacent, so Elia, who stayed on duty with Kat, also visited Vadim. The security guard had a concussion and multiple lacerations from the icicles that rained down on him. But the young man was in high spirits. "It's okay, Alina Albertovna, I've had worse happen to me in the army, and, as you can see, I survived, so it will heal now, don't worry." Quote. Nuala was still worried. She couldn't forget Katya's warning, not to be the first one to the restaurant today. But it turned out she was the one who arrived first. If it weren't for Vadim, she would have taken the brunt of it. But why did she do it? Ali didn't sleep a wink until midnight, waiting for Katya to come to her senses. She called the restaurant several times, checking on how things were going. But the girl's health was more important to her now. The doctors said the little girl had suffered shock, but they had done everything in their power. And it was to be expected that she would soon wake up and finally be able to talk. And what surprised Ali most was that her family hadn't come looking for her. She herself could not tell her aunt about what had happened, since she knew neither her last name nor her address. And towards morning she heard a thin child's voice. Mom, are you here?" "Katya, it's only me, Aunt Aliyah," the woman answered guiltily, leaning over the bed. "Aunt Aliyah, did you also get caught in the snow?" the girl asked. "No, Katyusha, you warned me, but why did you come to the restaurant so early yourself?" Quote. Alina asked the question that had been tormenting her all this time. "I wanted to get to Mom," the little girl said, her voice trembling. "I begged her for a long time to take me home. And then the day before yesterday I dreamed of some old woman in black who said, 'Come to the restaurant when there's no one else there. You'll get caught in the snow and you can go to Mom. But you have to get there first.'" The little girl began to sob. "I did everything she said. I was the first one there, and then that big guy attacked me, and the snow shower fell on him, not me. So it turns out he didn't let me see my mother." Alina laughed again, unsure what to say to the unfortunate child. She'd never had to talk to children about such serious things. Quote. "Katyusha," she finally said. "You're still so little, you have your whole life ahead of you. It's too early for you to see your mother." "No, it's not too early, we've always been together. I have to go to her." Katya screamed and burst into tears. A nurse, hearing the scream, looked into the room to see that Alina had given the girl lying on the nightstand some sedatives. The auntie had come in and said she'd finally found the child. Alia braced herself for a tired, exhausted woman. After all, Katya's auntie was the mother of 3 children and the guardian of an orphaned niece. But a stately, well-groomed, beautiful woman with a pleasant, deep voice, smelling of perfume, floated into the ward. Quote, "Katyusha," she sang, seeing her niece with a bandaged forehead and bruises smeared with brilliant green. "Why are you making us so nervous? We've been looking for you at every hospital, almost calling the morgue." She approached the bed, smiling broadly and spreading her arms. But Alina noticed that Katya had huddled into a ball, as if afraid of this relative. Quote, "You can't imagine how worried I am about her," she said regretfully to the nurse, adjusting the white coat she had thrown over her. "She's a special child, you know. She doesn't obey any rules, does whatever she wants, and causes nothing but trouble. Either they call her to school because she skips classes, or the police catch her on the bus, and she, you see, drives around the ring road. I don't go for a ride, I go to my mom's," the girl said quietly. "The last stop is just around the corner." "Well, there you go," the woman threw up her hands, "and she argues at every step. I just don't know what to do with her." Alina wanted to say that for a start it would be nice to just love her niece, but she remained silent. Remembering the woman's name, she only asked, "Karina, does Katya also go to school in an old fur coat and boy's shoes?" "What do you mean, also?" She boiled over. "And why should she dress better than my own children? Do you think you can dress a child to the nines with child support? And what's the point? They grow up faster than I can manage to buy them clothes. That's why she wears the same things as my children. They wear out one after another, so she should too. After all, it's not my fault that my sister decided to have her. I told Urka. First came school, then the children. She disobeyed, didn't have the abortion. And here's the result. She's homeless and left her little sister an orphan. She didn't even tell me who her father was." "What are you even talking about?" Alina couldn't stand it. "To say such things in front of a child, you've completely lost your mind. Besides, as far as I know, you and your children live in Katya's apartment. You should be ashamed." Alina felt herself shaking from talking to this woman, who at first was pretty, but then turned out to be a real wimp. She wanted to grab her by her beautiful, voluminous hair and throw her out of the room. But then the nurse intervened. "Listen, Auntie, you don't use foul language in the trauma department. You come to see your niece, and then you insult her like crazy. I'm asking you to leave the department." "What's this? You have no right." Quote, "I'm her legal guardian," Karina sighed. "But I knew it would end badly. They're all born out of wedlock. No matter how much good you do, they still think you're worse than your stepmother." She raised her head and proudly floated out of the room, taking off her white coat as she went. "So much for a relative," the nurse exclaimed in surprise. "Why did you even come? She looked everywhere," she says. "No way. We found her and told her Katya was with us. When the pediatrician recognized the girl and brought us her medical records." "Oh, so you have Katya's documents?" "Well, at least her medical ones." Alina perked up. She'd already made her decision, but first she needed to find out the baby's birth details. "I'll try to negotiate with her first. I don't think Karina would refuse a large sum. But if she doesn't agree, we'll talk differently. It seems like it wouldn't be difficult to deprive her of guardianship." Quote, "She continued to visit Katya and her subordinate after work, and on the way, she learned how she had legally retrieved the girl from the clutches of her unscrupulous guardian. Dropping into the security guard's room again, Alina found Vadim reading some legal website. "Are you interested in law?" Alina smiled. Actually, I study in my free time, Alina Albertovna, the security guard answered her with a smile. Although, I was just looking at something unrelated. Oh, I wonder, what if it's not a secret? Quote. Alina began arranging the fruit, broth, and casserole she'd brought onto the nightstands. Yeah, how can I tell you? I've never told anyone about this before, but I guess I can tell you. You see? I can't have children. Even my wife left me because of it. And since then, I haven't dated anyone, not even dreaming of a family. But when I saw this girl, I felt so sorry for her, as if she were my own family. She was like a frozen sparrow. So I offered her a warm place on our warm staircase. Little did I know that she'd come back the next day and almost die because of me. Quote. Alina raised a finger to protest, but Vadik nodded. I know, it's not my fault. Quote. So, I read it. Can I adopt Katya? You said yourself that she's an orphan. Fatim. Alina looked at the guy, stunned. Are you seriously considering adopting her? But she has a guardian, her own aunt. Oh, would her own aunt really allow her niece to beg? And what was she wearing? Okay, Vadim, quiet, don't worry, you can't. Listen, since you've entrusted me with your secret, you'll have to entrust me with yours. I can't have children either, and I want to adopt Katya too. I can't hand her over to that aunt again, who seems to only care about herself. I've already started doing something about it, so forgive me, but you're too late. Vadim sighed in disappointment, then smiled. You know, it'll be even better this way. You, Alina Albertovna, will make a great mother. Look how you care, even for me, your employee, he nodded at the nightstand. Thank you. Alina looked at him carefully and suddenly asked quietly, and when will you graduate this year? Defense. What? And where will you go to work? Well, I'll look at the vacancies, he began. No vacancies, Alina smiled. I've wanted to hire a manager for a long time. And I think you'll do an excellent job. But it's not quite in my specialty, or is it really? But you'll earn much more than some lawyer's assistant. Plus, you can combine management with the position of a full-time lawyer. How do you like that, Alina Albertovna? Yes, this is a great offer. I don't even know if I deserve it. Of course you do. You saved my future daughter, Alina smiled. After being discharged from the hospital, Katya finally settled in Alina's house. As expected, the aunt accepted a large sum from the businesswoman, voluntarily giving up guardianship of the girl in her favor. Karina with her children and husband left for their native. They moved to a small town and bought a private house there. After defending his thesis, Vadim took over as manager and truly became Alina's right-hand man and Katya's best friend. In the spring, as Alina had promised, the three of them bought bouquets and visited Katya's mother's grave. The restaurant's business was booming, and Alina began to think about opening branches. But Vadim unexpectedly confessed that he loved her and wanted to take care of both her and Katya, and proposed that they start a family. After their honeymoon, Alina called Vadim into her office for a serious talk. Vatya, do you have medical confirmation of reproductive dysfunction? What? Quote, the surprised husband didn't understand. How do you know you can't have children? That's what my first wife said. Quote, oh, Vadimushka, and you're a lawyer too, you forgot that any statements need to be verified. What are you trying to say? He asked in a trembling voice. But Alina silently pulled a dark photo out of her purse and held it up to her husband's eyes. Quote, "Oh, nothing special. Katya's just having a little brother next year," she said, hugging him tightly. If you like the story, I hope you'll support me with a thumbs up. All the best.